delayed Three Legs, Four Wheels F1 podcast. It's Paul here with
Sean,
Chris,
and Kieran.
Probably just as well we are recording 2 days late this week because of all the Wednesday news that happened.
it's because we knew it was coming.
Yes, because we know everything that's going to happen before it happens. We barely know what's going to happen after it happens.
We were so aware of Tuesday news that we went, instead of doing it before, let's just do it after.
Yeah.
Just cover it. And then it turned into Wednesday news anyway, unless you're Christian Horner, then it's Tuesday news.
Just in case something happens on Thursday, I would like to congratulate Jack Doohan on his return, Christian Horner on taking over as team principal at Alpine, delete where applicable,
Max Verstappen on his new contract at Red Bull.
or Mercedes or Aston Martin.
Or Audi.
Alpine.
Yeah.
I think that's all of them. Yeah, well done.
No, he knows we've covered it.
Doohan or Bottas?
Yeah, we've covered.
Did you say that?
I got that. I think I got that one.
I think you mentioned Doohan.
Yeah.
My bad.
Well, I might not.
Congratulations, stroke commiserations to the person or persons it may concern on your new/old news.
Tell you what, I'll just delete the rest and leave that one in. That works out great. So on this week's Delete Where Applicable Good Bad show.
Well, a lot.
Yeah. I mean,
Because we have had a Grand Prix,
and it
but
was,
it's a bit old news now.
Yeah.
it was, and it was a massive one.
It was amazing. It was honestly, from I think probably from lights out to finish, one of the most, what the hell's going on? Oh my God, this is amazing races for a very long time.
Yeah.
There was just no lull.
It was good.
Chris, you made a good point on our chat, but I think on 20 laps in or so when Hajar binned it, he said, well, this is fun, but it is annoying. You know, there was some racing at some point.
Yeah, because you had all the stoppages, didn't you? The safety cars and things, and then the safety cars bunch the field up. And what happens when you bunch the field up on a wet circuit? They crash into each other, and you get another safety car. So it's like, wow, okay, right now somebody else is out, and still nobody's trying to go for a pit because they're all trying to eke their tyres out instead of changing them as quickly as possible.
It settled down. It did settle down.
It did, yeah. It was a bit annoying, and there was those two safety cars so close to each other. But I'm still not into the sprinkler idea. I don't think that's a good idea. But when it's natural weather, because we were all watching the support races on the Sunday, and it's a sort of it's rained very heavily during some of them. It's just like, oh, are we actually going to get a race underway? So I'm really glad we did get a race. Wet, dry conditions, often
unpredictable.
It was kind of unpredictable, but only in certain terms.
I mean, there were some ways in which it was predictable. The wettest race of the season so far, and the 5 DNFs were all rookies. Some of them even in their first season. I'm not letting this one go.
No, I mean, this is Liam Lawson's third season, but is it the first time he's raced at Silverstone?
Oh, it might be, because he tends to be a late season rookie, doesn't he?
Ooh,
Yeah.
He came in at Zandvoort initially, didn't he? And,
in the middle of Zandvoort.
Yeah, because Ricardo, did he break his wrist or something like that?
Broke his wrist, I think, in FP2, I think.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Lawson's did 2/3 of Zandvoort, and then, what was it, 4 more races after that?
Something like that, yeah, 3 or 4.
Yeah.
He did five races for AlphaTauri in 2023, and then 6 in 2024. That's USA onwards, of course. Danny Rick got let go just before the US, didn't he?
Yeah.
So yeah, he hasn't done Great Britain or Spa.
So this week we'll say he was a rookie properly.
I'm sure he would have done when he did F3 and F2, though.
Oh, yeah.
Because he did a few seasons
Yes.
there, so I'm sure he is familiar.
Yeah, knows where the barriers are.
Yes.
Well, got help. Tell you what, rather than do team by team, we'll go through drivers and incidents.
Event by event, lap by lap.
Because it just gives us an excuse to wonder what the hell Colapinto's on this season.
That's not going to take us lap by lap, is it? Because he didn't get that far.
No, well,
Lap 0. Well, it didn't even start there, though, did it? It happened in qualifying, is
Ah.
really where the issue started, because he decided towards the end of Q1 that he was bored of qualifying and no longer wanted to be part of it.
Which is an interesting way to say Colapinto crashed again.
Yes.
Yes.
It's one way to sort of spice it up a bit, isn't it?
No, it's everyone sort of heard on Sunday, he burnt out his clutch and that's why he couldn't start. The actual team radio was, "Oh God, it's happened again." So
I didn't know that.
yeah, so this isn't the first time he's burnt out his clutch. So I'm desperately looking to see when he's done it before and how the hell has he managed to do it before.
It feels like the kind of thing you do once and then go, right, I'm not going to do that again because that's silly.
Yeah, like if you're Vitaly Petrov, you don't test the curbs just to see how wet they are. Very.
Did the steering wheel used to be attached to the car? I think it did.
Yeah, rumours are flying around that he's done. Nobody can get a straight answer out of Briatore.
Surprise.
Well, I mean, sorry, that was just a sweeping general statement, not
there's a few
necessarily
weeks
about
off,
him.
though, isn't there? So he'll be in his club in Monaco.
No, that's true. Flavio's in the house.
Mm-hmm.
But
Was there a gap between Miami and Monaco? Was it Monaco or Spain when initially they sacked Doohan this year? I will say there was a gap
Yeah, that
between
rings a
Miami
bell.
and
I think it was
Imola
it was
and
Miami, definitely after then.
Yeah.
Yeah, because originally Colapinto, as Briatore said at the time, he's got 6 races. Then he had an uncertain number of races, and the latest one is he's on a race-to-race contract.
This one being a bad one.
Which means we won't see him for the next race.
Yeah. So, wild speculation, who's getting the other Alpine seat? We know there's been vague murmurings of Bottas, which we were talking about last week, and that would be career suicide.
He was asked
Yeah.
as well. I think there was an interview during the rounds where he'd been asked, when are you going to be back on the grid? And he said, "I'm working on it." But then that could be a next year thing.
That could be Cadillac. They could bring Doohan back. If they don't bring Doohan back, then whoever they put in is going to be there for the rest of the season, unless they bring Doohan back later, because of the 4 drivers rule.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The driver isn't the problem. I said this last week.
No.
No, I mean, I want to congratulate Pierre Gasly on getting through a full race without his car shitting itself.
Yeah, but lovely as that was a great performance by Gasly, you only need to look at who's a bit ahead of him and who's a bit behind him to go, that's not a Gasly outdrives the car into 6. Which he probably, he did probably a normal Gasly job, but there's more to the story.
He was faster than Lance Stroll.
Yeah. Okay, there's a little more to the story.
We have to talk about Lance Stroll's post-race radio as well. Not yet, because we're going incident by incident.
Yes.
But we absolutely have to talk about that.
Oh, yeah, how a man can put himself in the wanker column so quickly is impressive. Oh, Lance, you finished 7th. What did you just say? Oh, fuck you.
Next major thing would be Liam Lawson. I think it was Ocon that he tried to murder, wasn't it?
I think it was.
It was, yeah, and he blamed Ocon for it, despite the fact it was nothing to do with it.
The fact that Ocon couldn't actually move any further left without being in Tsunoda's cockpit.
Yeah, I think Ocon, the only sort of say in it Ocon had was which driver does he hit, which is not a great choice.
No, I mean, Liam Lawson should have looked in his mirrors and maybe given it a lot more room to Ocon on the inside. But to just cut across the front of a car and then claim he's driven into the side of you is ballsy at best.
And to be honest, balls.
Yeah,
Respect to the vision mixer, the live vision mixer for F1, who decided to perfectly time Liam Lawson's radio of, this guy just crashed into me, with the exact moment of him crashing into the other guy with the other guy doing nothing. It's just impressive from the editing team. There was nothing Ocon could do.
No, it was being squeezed from one side into somebody else. What's he meant to do? Slam on the brakes, and if anyone behind him is going to then run into him.
Yeah, you just have Albon over the top of him or something, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Yes, silly, very silly.
And
I love the way that the rear left tyre buckled. He spun round twice and went, "Oh, I'm well off the racetrack here. I'm going to have to be recovered. What if I drive back to the racetrack to be very near to somewhere I could also be recovered?"
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that carries a penalty these days.
Yeah. I wonder if he thought you could get it back to the pits over the rough ground. So I'm not trying really hard not to defend him, but at the same time, at the same time, playing devil's advocate, you might not have realised that his left wheel was that badly buckled until he got onto something kind of resembling the flat, and then went, no, yeah, it's fucked.
You know as well, in like a race where it's mixed conditions, there are going to be retirements. So actually trying to stay in the race, there's maybe that slightly higher reward of, you can always finish for points almost. So it's worth trying to keep going.
Yeah. I've got to keep going. There's races with retirements. Yeah, you're the first one. Well, you're not the first one. The second one's actually just there's a smell of burnt gearbox back there. But you're the second one.
The first one didn't start.
Yeah. It's really awkward for Lawson because he put in such a good performance in Austria, but I think it's quite evident of, your last race is the one that counted, in that we've seen a turn 4 incident for Liam Lawson. It's not going to be forgotten for 3 weeks now because there's such a massive gap. And it's a bit of a shame that his sixth place in Austria is just sort of put to the sidelines, essentially, because this was such a silly move.
That's become the footnote now because he made a dick move.
Yeah. He's in Australia, China. He retired in Australia, we know, in China. But since then, it's been 17th, 16th, 12th, retired, 14th, 8th at Monaco. But we know what happened at Monaco. It was, you scratch my back, I'll wait half a minute for you to scratch yours. Spain 11th, Canada retire, Austria 6th, Great Britain retire. So it's 4 retirements this year and only 2 points finishes. And he's in a better car, a car that better suits him now, at least. So it is a problem.
Yeah, I mean, it was the next retirement for me that really sort of exacerbated the problem for Liam Lawson a bit as well, because when his teammate retired...
No, Bortoletto went out before Hadjar did.
Was it Bortoletto before?
He ended up just kind of parked on the side of the road, didn't he?
Bortoletto only made it to...
Misremembering.
Yeah, Bortoletto only made it to lap 3.
Yeah, he was off 3 or 4 corners after the first safety car.
Okay. So I misremembered that. But when Hadjar went out, the point still stands. When Hadjar went out, it was like, oh no, Hadjar's retired. And everybody sort of just like, he's been having a really good season. It was like, we've already seen Lawson go out and we weren't surprised. Now Hadjar's out and it's like, he's had a really big accident. Is he okay? What happened there? I mean, you saw it happen. You were like, well, he should have known better. But this is the first real big error since Australia. So,
yeah, it's a problem, isn't it, for Liam Lawson when your teammate's that good and he hadn't driven the F1 car before, testing, let's say, but he's brand new. He's not on his 3rd rookie season. He's on his first and what's going to be his only rookie season because I can quite, and if 10 races down the line they drop him for, I don't know, Arvid Lindblad, then I'll be surprised. But this is going to be Isaac Hadjar's only rookie season. He will be in the car next year. He might even be in a slightly darker car next year. So a darker blue car. But yeah. It's a shame and it's a problem.
Yeah, Kieran, your internet keeps dropping out sort of momentarily. We're getting sort
Oh,
of half
no,
a word, then a
really?
gap, then another half word.
It's just the odd half syllable, isn't it? It's not too bad.
I will close everything.
When you say everything, how much have you got open?
I won't close this window. That would be
No.
silly. I've got Liam Lawson's race results and a map of the Isle of Man.
Close the map of the Isle
Yeah.
of Man.
The map
Well, I mean,
go.
that's picking up your bandwidth.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the map of the Isle of Man won't be updating all that much because we don't like change over here. I knew I should have put the rim shot on the stream deck alongside the ears of that Glock sting. Yeah, the next retirement was Bortoletto. Now, thank you. I said at the time when he pitted for Slicks, this is either going to be genius or suicidal. And it wasn't genius.
No.
No, it was not. Yeah, no, I do remember it now. But yeah, no, it was that did not go well.
Yeah. Way too soon to put Slicks on by somewhere in the region of about 40 laps. And lost the back end, started crapping carbon fibre all over the place, and basically got told, do not bring it back to the pits, you will get hit with a massive penalty. And then it died anyway. And I don't actually think the back wheels were both facing in the same direction
Heck.
when he stopped. Because the car seemed to be sort of porpoising on one side and then the other.
Yeah, it wasn't driving well when he was trying to get it back to the pits, was it?
No,
Ignoring the fact that it was like sharting out parts.
Yeah. I mean, flexi wings abandoned rear wings shouldn't be that floppy. But yeah, that was it was a gamble. It could have paid off. It may have paid off with a more experienced driver.
Possibly, yeah. Putting your rookie on experimental slicks is probably not the best way
Yeah,
to
there's
go.
somebody else who went for it early as well, wasn't there? And it was just, what's that Ocon? And it was just the wrong call. Because they were nowhere near
It was
the
Leclerc, I
No,
think, wasn't it?
Antonelli. Antonelli pitted for Slicks.
Russell, Leclerc, and then eventually Antonelli. I don't know what data they got from George Russell to go, right, time's up, Antonelli. You're up next. Because it didn't work.
No, I mean, to the extent that it really didn't work. The only team I can think who made it work when they got their calls right were, surprisingly, Aston Martin.
I'm scared, Mummy.
One of their calls.
Well, the call to bring Lance Stroll in for Slicks, and we were all like, what are you doing? Like,
Yeah.
Lance Stroll.
Yeah.
Lance Stroll,
Yeah.
right track, slick tyres. Someone call the police, because that's a crime. However, it wasn't a crime at all whatsoever, because he made it work, or they made it work brilliantly. So, they got the dry running with it being dry for just about long enough you can get the slicks working for. And then as soon as it started being wet again, he's like, right, I'll just get off of these and put the inters back on.
And then, of course, at the same time, everybody else that stayed on inters had been driving them on a dry track and had absolutely ruined them. So everyone was in the same position of needing to pit to change.
Yeah.
Yep.
Including
So-
Alonso,
and
who
that-
was very unhappy about Stroll getting that pit call.
And at one point, he was Lance Stroll was in third, and I actually went, "Go on, Lance Stroll, get a podium. Why not?"
We might.
I had that thought for a while, but not the whole time. Until about lap 30 when I saw who was fourth and catching. Then I was like, can you f off, Lance Stroll? We're done with you now. We had a lovely 15 laps. We'll always have cops, but until then, off.
We might as well. I mean, the post-race message. Managed to undo all the good work that he had done up to the checkered flag.
I mean, he was overtaken by Gasly, wasn't he, within the last couple of corners? So he was running third for a long time, and then I don't know exactly what happened, but obviously Hülkenberg and Hamilton went past. You'd expect Verstappen to get past, and that's fine. And then Gasly did him on, I think, just at the end of the hangar straight on the last lap. So he finished seventh, which is still respectable, given that it's Lance Stroll. No, I'm joking. Given that it's Aston Martin and they've been struggling this year.
I think what happened with Stroll with losing the positions was he was the first one of that group to pit for dries, and it might have been a lap or two early, so the interrunners were still a little bit quicker.
It was as DRS got switched on as well. So like Hulk had been about a second or so behind him. They switched DRS back on as the track was drying, and literally next lap he was passed. Then Hamilton was passed. It became, as DRS was enabled, it became easy to overtake Stroll.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3 more laps, he might have fallen out the points. Might have, not definitely.
But 7th is incredibly respectable.
Very much.
Result for
Oh,
Lance
hell
Stroll.
yeah. But then,
So the radio message is, and tell me if my internet does cut out during this because I missed a bit of what was there. Engineer. Okay, Lance, crazy car to drive, amazing finish. Crazy is an understatement. I mean, it's the worst piece of shit I've ever driven in my life, to be honest. Then an awkward pause where he goes, but I got P7, so okay. Sorry. Very sorry. Yeah, really quite. What a lovely way to show your privilege to be able to turn around and go, I'm really grateful for this result, but only after I tell you that the thing you've built me is shit, despite the fact at one point, with not only with a half decent car and your tactical prowess, you nearly got me a podium, but because I'm Lance Stroll, I can't have a podium. Knob.
first
So
one,
both cars came in as well in the points, and then both Astons were in the points.
first,
Yeah.
Lance's first one in the wanker category. Although, actually, second, Colapinto.
Yes.
Just for the word again.
Aside from the McLarens, I think Aston were the only team to score double points.
Oh, wow.
McLaren.
Yeah, aside from the McLarens, yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Yeah, so McLaren obviously 1 and 2, but Fernando I think was 9th and Stroll 7th. So that was so imagine having that feeling, the relief. The engineers must be like, "Wow, both cars across the line in that race!" Like in all the carnage that happened, and all the spins, and the people coming back on, and the bits of carbon fiber flying off, and the damage, and the safety cars, and everything else. And wow, well, we're going to get a red flag in the wet, and oh my god, what's going on? Both cars have come home safe, and then one of the drivers goes, "That was fucking awful."
Yeah. Not only did they come home safe, you've got us some points, and we're in a much stronger position in a very competitive bottom 5.
Yeah,
Told
exactly.
you.
I wonder if it's because it's the most work he's ever had to do in the rain before, because normally he just crashes.
You say
Not
that.
awful in the rain, is he?
He's got on damp tracks. The pole in Turkey.
Okay, yeah.
Podium
Italy
in,
2017.
yeah,
Is it
podium in
17 or 18? Yeah. Yeah, where he qualified one on the
remember
wet,
because I-
and then he raced in the wet, and then he managed to retain his position somehow.
I was late to a date because bloody rain wouldn't stop raining, and I had to wait to see if Lance Stroll was any good. Which back then it was a flip of a coin. Now it's a flip of 10 coins.
So yeah, he's not crap in the wet, but oh, for fuck's sake, just I keep saying this. He doesn't want to be there.
No.
It does. Yeah, he doesn't come across well, and I know I've said it before, and he it's very easy to make Lance Stroll the butt of the joke, but when he is that down and depressed about who he is, where he is, and what he's doing, and you look at any of the other 19 drivers on the grid, and you think, well, if they were your teammate and your car was good enough to win the championship, it's probably not you winning the championship, Lance.
Yeah. Yeah, Fernando Alonso is he 44 now?
Something like that.
I think he might be.
He's 44 at the end of this month.
Ah.
And he's firmly parking Lance Stroll. I say firmly, Lance Stroll is ahead in the championship.
For now.
Yeah.
I think, is this the second? Was Australia? Did he get a bit of a fluky result as well, like a sort of not fluky, but do you know what I mean, like slightly out of the ordinary?
He was 6 in Australia, and I think he got some in, I want to say Miami.
Might have been the sprint. I've stopped taking notice of him. He's boring me. Can we move on to something else?
Yeah, so of course we can. So Kimi Antonelli, we briefly touched on it before, but obviously he got rear-ended by
Isaac Hadjar,
Hadjar,
who more than briefly touched on him.
Yeah, more than briefly touched on him. Absolutely smashed into the back of him and destroyed his diffuser.
Yeah, as I was saying on our Discord chat, there's a massive nothing where Antonelli's diffuser should be.
Yeah, and apparently that makes I mean, I don't know. I've never driven a car with a powerful enough diffuser. Apparently that makes the rear of the car completely unstable and just almost impossible to drive. So Antonelli was just retire.
You don't have one on a 1978 Cortina.
75, but no, there's not one on that one.
Hey,
When it comes in,
I was close.
when he came into the pits, what did they use the rear jack on? Do you think
That's a
he just
good
came
point.
in and the rear jackman went, lads, help me lift this, just holding the rear wing.
Maybe it was actually there. It's just like a bad render on a video game. So the jack was touching nothing, but the car still went up.
I mean, he just stuck it in a bit further until he found something to jack it up on. I don't know, like when you jack your own car up to change your tire. I don't know if this is the right part. I don't think it's supposed to bend like that.
Yeah, but it's up, it'll do.
It's going up.
Yeah, if he heard any screaming coming from the cockpit, he'd put the jack in too far.
Ow, 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 ow.
So obviously, in the end, that took Antonelli out of the race as our fifth and final retirement.
Yeah. I don't know how the Hasses managed to stay on track. Did they hit each other twice? And then Behrman had gone and went across the track about 5 times.
I mean, Behrman was an absolute danger all weekend from the.
And yet the only rookie to finish.
Yeah.
Yeah, despite being in 3 crashes.
Yeah, he finished 1.5 seconds behind George Russell to miss out on a point.
Ah.
And I mean, what was he thinking under that red flag?
Oh,
in the qualifying.
Yeah.
I think he was thinking, I'll just, just get some heat into my tyre. I don't know what he was doing, but it was such a silly thing to do.
Yes,
But very-
One of the strangest crashes I've ever seen.
I will crawl round at red flag pace, and then I will get into the pit lane and
just twat it for
absolutely
some
gun
reason.
it on cold tyres.
so
But
he
I've
was-
got props to him though to Behrman because of his qualifying. Because he got a 10th place grid penalty and everyone was like, well, that's Behrman starting at the back. And in qualifying, he went, no, fuck you, I'm going to qualify 8th.
Yes, yeah.
I'm thinking Gene Simmons probably Behrman this weekend.
Yeah, bit of all
Yeah,
sorts. Yeah.
There is an alleged explanation for what Behrman was doing in qualifying.
An alleged explanation.
It's called a brain fart.
It didn't come from the horse's mouth, but it came from someone who's in a nearby stable. Let's put it that way. But
The horse's ass.
yes. Okay, David Croft. Let's call him David Croft, okay?
But the horse's arse.
He's said on, I can't remember, it was the F1 podcast or something like that. He said on something that I was listening to whilst I was washing up, that the theory is, that's not an exclusive, the theory is that he didn't, under the red flag conditions, he was 18 seconds slower than his delta, and he only sped up once he got past Stowe Corner. The theory being that he was practicing he'd purposely gone slow to save time on his red flag delta to then bomb it into the pit lane to do a at speed pit stop, pit entrance thing. And they said the telling thing is to watch Max's onboard. Max is the car directly behind, who just watches a Haas go off into the distance. And then when he rocks up to aforementioned distance, there's pieces of Haas instead.
I have seen Max's on board, and it is like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Hold up. There was a whole car here a minute ago. What have you done?
It was still a massive dick move.
Yeah, I mean, even
Yeah.
if he was within the delta, it's a strange choice, isn't it? Like, red
Yeah.
flag, this is the time to do a racing speed pit stop.
Yeah.
No, you see, that's just the rules are that red flag is like drive slowly and prepare to stop
Yeah.
at any point.
Yeah.
Not drive slowly and prepare to gun it to 180k.
Yeah, because as was rightfully pointed out in the commentary, like you don't know what the red flag is for. It could be multiple incidents, and that's why there's a red flag. Like you gunning it into the pits, there could be a marshal on the circuit, like right there, like where you're gunning it towards. And if you haven't seen him and you're not doing an appropriate speed, the consequences would have been horrific. So there's a reason these rules are in place, and the 10-place grid penalty, whilst it did seem a little bit harsh, was completely fair.
And of course, that puts him up to 8 penalty points because they gave him 4.
That is an extreme number of penalty points for one incident. I don't know if I've ever seen 4 before.
No, 4 is the absolute maximum they can give for anything. Max only got 3 for ramming George.
How many penalty points do you get if you put up in Parc Ferme, headbutt Joe Bauer, then go up to Ben Suleiman and nut him in the face as well? Is that 5?
Would that be 2 separate incidents, though?
That's a good point. It's a 3 and a 2.
Yeah.
For how many points you can get in 2 separate incidents, we need to ask the Lord and Saviour himself, Ranganathan.
I mean, did he not once manage like 12 in a weekend?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he got his license suspended for, was it over 2 weekends or over 2 days? 2 days in one
I think
weekend.
it was 2
wasn't it?
days,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously they have
11
2
on the
races,
Saturday
but
and
yeah.
3 on the Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, well, he managed to get 6 in one race.
Amazing.
Still our hero. Right, other major incidents. Carlos Sainz getting unluckily taken out by Charles Leclerc.
Oh, I'd forgotten about that one.
Now, we saw Leclerc go off. That's because him and Sainz basically thumped each other and took both of them out the points. Because Sainz was running about 9th or 10th at the time.
Yeah, they were. They were on the fringes of the points. And it's a weird one. It's a really weird one because Leclerc seems to defend thin air, Sainz goes to the left, and then they both just sort of come together and go off.
Did they blame each other as well, that one? I don't think actually either of them were found to be at fault, but I think in the moment they sort of, seemed to think the other was responsible somehow.
Yeah. Sainz with I think the least passive aggressiveness you can have towards someone you used to work with. The guy in the red car.
I don't know. If you want to see passive aggression towards people that you used to work with, if I get this new job on Friday, it's next door to my former employers.
Yeah, but that might come under the category of the most amount of passive aggressive.
Trust me.
I'm saying this is like, short of an eye roll. This is, the least.
I may have got that wrong. Right, what else have we got? The Piastri penalty.
The McLarens, or the McLaren, I should say.
Yeah. Now everyone's saying, well, George didn't get one for what he did in Canada. George slowed down round about 60 kilometres an hour with 30 psi of brake pressure in the dry. Piastri slowed down about 120 kilometres an hour with 60 psi of brake pressure in the wet.
It's the harshness, isn't it? It's the harshness of the brake.
Yeah.
Yeah. The thing is, I can understand both sides of the argument here. The penalty is probably warranted, given that it was such a sudden stop. The visibility behind Oscar Piastri was poor, so he had a clear view of the safety car, and he could do whatever he wanted essentially as a lead car. He saw the lights go out, and it's up to him to control the pace. So other cars should have been prepared for that, but the visibility was so poor because of the spray, not everybody could see what was going on in front. So in that respect, the penalty was warranted because it looked like braking was too harsh. Oscar's argument that I did exactly the same thing 3 laps previous and nobody even warned me about it is that's a genuine point of argument. Like, okay, well, if the second one was so wrong, why didn't you at least give him something for the first one and say, well, hang on a second, you can't do that again.
Yeah.
To just come straight out with a 10-second penalty because you did it the second time, be like, well, you didn't tell me the first time that it was wrong. So I do understand Oscar's. It's the first time we've seen Oscar's like emotions almost get the better of him, isn't it? He after the race, he just didn't want to speak. He was just like, no, because I'll get myself into trouble. So I think, yeah, he is fallible. He is human. He will make mistakes, but at the same time, I can see both sides of the story, and he feels. I think
if you've done something a couple of times softly that has alerted the stewards, I guess it's quite easy to take we'll give him one more chance, and then he does it in the biggest manner in the third chance. Then the stewards turn around and go, right, okay, we've seen enough. We saw a little bit before, and we were borderline. Now we're unhappy. I can see that approach. The fact that he went from 218 kilometers an hour to 52, something like that, is not ideal. 130 miles an hour down to 30, not ideal in the wet when the race was under a safety car a few laps before because of conditions. It only opened up because Hadjar decided Antonelli shouldn't be in the race anymore. And then when that safety car came in, it was drier and visibility was better. But if you look on Max's onboard, the split second where Piastri braked, he's just out of view. Did Max exaggerate? Maybe a tiny bit. Is it a penalty for me? Yes. Is it 10? I don't know, but it's a penalty. Maybe it's 5.
Yeah, I'm definitely up there with it being a penalty, because drive to the regulations and the conditions. And from Max's onboard, you couldn't see his rain light. It was that far ahead. You could see the charging lights. And when he hit the brakes, he was that far ahead that you couldn't see a bloody thing. Yes, he deserved a penalty. Also, nice attempt at asking McLaren to let him swap places with Lando so he could have the win.
Yeah, just a cheeky
and this
shout,
is what
isn't it?
cements him. This is for me what cements him into the wanker column this weekend. Because I think it's fine, it's ballsy, it's daft, it's a bit silly, but also it's regardless of whether your team thinks that's unfair, you can't just manipulate it to reverse it back for yourself.
No,
the team still have the lead driver. If that was Max in a Red Bull and all of a sudden a Racing Bulls was leading the race, then Max might turn around and go, could the mate in front, bloke in front, could he piss off for a little bit so I can have another crack at this? But Piastri knows that there's only one loser in a battle between him and Norris if they do get into a battle and Piastri gets let through. And it's Norris because Piastri's ahead in the championship. Sure, he's not in a losing position right at that point if he gets let through because he's up on points. They only go back to 0 each for the weekend if so. So, congratulate Gene Simmons for the ballsiness, but wankerness for then getting out of the car and actually being stroppy because of the penalty, because they didn't reverse positions for whatever reason. That's just a bit daft.
Yeah, it's like I understand it, but and also Piastri's pace in the damp was very quick before he served his penalty. And then sort of after that, I don't know if it was pace managed by McLaren. I don't think we heard enough team radio to know sort of what was going on. So whether or not the Oscar was allowed to go and race Lando, or whether it was just the pace was just so similar that they couldn't get close to each other. But it did seem like, it took the wind out of the sails of the win a little bit, I would say, for Lando Norris. But at the end of the day, if you drive a race and you don't get any penalties, but your rival does, whether that's your teammate or not, well, you're going to take whatever comes your way.
Yeah. Lando took complete advantage of it and absolutely made up for him winning his first British Grand Prix.
Yeah.
I want to say Max. Not major incidents, but my God, more complaining. That car is absolutely terrible.
Except for
Well-
when he qualified on pole.
Well, no, yeah, that's this.
Yeah,
is the
but he
thing.
was
So-
still unhappy with the car when he qualified it on pole. He was whinging all the way through qualifying.
Well, this is the thing. So they trimmed a lot of downforce off on the Saturday on Max's car to try and make his car quicker in a straight line, which worked obviously because he got pole and everyone was like, "Oh my god!" Nobody expected Max to get pole, and he got pole. So it's just like, wow, Max can still do these things.
But as you said, sort of to paraphrase you during our chat, in our chat during qualifying, McLaren were racing with rear barn doors.
Yeah, almost. Yeah, they had a lot more downforce on because they were expecting the conditions to be not so good on Sunday. And that's where Red Bull and I think Max Verstappen fell down, and they gambled on it maybe not being as wet as it was on Sunday. And had it stayed dry, it could have looked like a genius move, and Max might have won the race by 30 seconds or so. But the lack of downforce, not just straight line speed would have been fine. Going around corners, you wouldn't have been able to put the temperature into his tyres as well as keep that car stuck to the ground. And that's exactly what we saw on the restart when he spun at Stowe. When he had the restart and he came around Stowe corner and just had that little pirouette all by himself, it's because his tyres were cold because he didn't have as much downforce as the cars around him to keep them as warm under the cooler conditions. And that's all because of the choices they made on the Saturday. So they sacrificed the Sunday for the Saturday. And it kind of, toward the latter part of the race, he came back a bit, but he spent most of that race in 11th position.
I mean, he was struggling from early on because there was a time that Norris overtook him going into the loop. And that was one of the corners where he seemed to have a lot of problems because that is a heavy braking zone after a fast section. Again. And obviously, if you're losing heat in the tyres or not maintaining the heat in the tyres, that is always going to be a difficult corner to get right. And I noticed he was a little erratic on it, quite a few times just during the whole course of the race. The Parc Fermé rule coming into effect as soon as the car leaves the garage in Q1, I think is great because it just makes the teams actually have to consider what do they want to get out of our next two on-track sessions, qualifying and the race.
Are they prioritising qualifying or race pace?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's really worked well. Any other major talking points before we get to the most major of all?
Lando's injury.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. Yes,
Again.
a photographer trying to climb up some netting or hang on to some netting which isn't designed to support the weight of a person.
It was the fence. It was the actual fence.
Yeah, he was climbing up the
fence.
pit wall fence, I think, wasn't he?
He was hanging onto some netting and took that with him. There was netting on the fence.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this was apparently, again, this came up in where the David Croft was spouting at me during washing up time. The Silverstone didn't want to put netting up so that the fans couldn't see the pack down. This was a choice apparently by F1 and Liberty Media, but it was done at such a last minute that it wasn't properly installed anywhere. It was just sort of hanging on a couple of curtain hooks. Then someone tried to sport their old body weight off it and fell into a Lando Norris, 26 of Glastonbury.
So pit lane full of supremely talented engineers, and no one managed to put up a net curtain properly.
Yeah. And someone's been down to Dunelm Mill and gone, 2 for a tenner. Lovely. We'll have 50.
In which case, F1 are going in the wankers column for that.
Yeah, it's not great. It's not a great look.
And then we come to the biggest rock star of the weekend. Actually, beyond rock star. Nico Hülkenberg, you are the first recipient of the Aussie Award.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And timely as well.
Yeah.
This isn't the first time this season that Nico Hülkenberg has finished much higher than where he started. And, we've all been like, how did he do that from so far back in a Sauber? So, was it Spain or something? He started 17th and finished 5th. And then Austria, the race before, he started right near the back and still got points. And then here we are, finally, 239 races into his career, he gets his first podium.
And we were all cheering him over the line. Well, cheering him
Oh,
around
yeah.
Absolutely.
those last few laps when Hamilton was catching him.
Yeah, I stood up and
Oh,
I
God.
applauded him over the line. I stood up. I didn't think the finish of the race was exciting enough to stand up for, but I stood up when Nico Hülkenberg was coming around the last couple of corners, and I did I clapped him over the line. Absolutely, he deserved that.
Yeah, I mean for the
He
second.
heard me from my house in Douglas, clapping at the television.
For the for the
was-
second time within 24 hours, I was on the verge of tears, and the first one was related to Ozzy as well when the Black Sabbath gig finished
Yeah.
the very night before. Totes emotions, the kids used to say.
Do they not say that anymore? I guess they don't.
I don't know. I'm not down with the kids.
I was pacing from lap 37, maybe. I just couldn't. I was at a point where there's the various stages between this is impossible and this is going to happen, right? And it goes through, it's possible but unlikely, it's likely but it's improbable and all that. I'd got to the stage of this could happen at around lap 37, 38, 39, somewhere around there, when he passed Stroll, Lewis dispatched Stroll, but Lewis couldn't catch Hülkenberg. It's at that point I went, no, and it felt horrible to watch, and I just stood up and I couldn't stay sat down. A couple of times I bashed my head on the curtains. A couple of times I went behind the sofa and walked around on the little carpet we got behind there.
What did
Then they put
did F1 put your curtains up on dodgy hooks or something?
They did, yeah. That's why they keep falling over. Fucking Dunelm. Yeah, at one point they showed his onboard with the graphic of 239 race starts, 0 career podiums, and I was genuinely, I think, the angriest I'd been in ages. Going, don't show it. Show something else. Please stop showing it. I don't want to see it.
I mean,
I was watching the times behind as well, like for the other cars. So I was like, Lewis is taking half a second out of him this lap, and then I was looking a bit further back down in the order, and I was like, Max is on a charge. I was like, no, not Max. Like, Max is going to get him. Then I was like, well, no, wait a second. I was like, Max is like nearly a minute behind. Max isn't going to get him. No, I think we're okay.
I think it was about lap 30. I
just horrible.
Yeah, it was about lap 30. I put the bet on, and as I keep saying, I rarely bet on F1, and I managed to get a tenner on Betfair Exchange, and I thought I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to tell you guys. I'm not going to tell anyone on the Discord chat because I'll curse it. And if he hadn't have got the podium, I would have blamed myself for sharing the betting slip. And then the second he crossed the line, sent it to our chat, put it on Discord, sent it to about 15 friends. I think I even sent it to my mum, who's got no interest in F1 whatsoever.
How much did he win you?
21 quid.
That's all right.
Well, 21 quid profit. So
There you go.
yeah.
So Skybet said that pre-race, Nico Hülkenberg was 750 to 1 for a podium. And how many people put money on Hülkenberg to get a podium pre-race?
Probably not many.
No.
27.
Oh, his number.
Wow.
Oh.
Okay. Wow. So
Yep.
they are down 15 and a bit grand.
Wowza.
Well, yes, at least.
That's good maths
Yeah.
there. That was quick.
Yeah. No, it's about 20 grand, I think, actually. But yeah, it's I couldn't watch, and Crofty did say after Lando won, I punched the air a little bit. Then Piastri crossed the line for second, and then there was that 30-second odd gap, and they flashed back to him, and Crofty said, "If you're watching this, stand up." And we both just looked at each other and went, "Oh, okay, yeah, I guess we'll stand up."
I was already standing, already. Yeah.
It was only on the last lap I sat back down again. I'd gone through what's the opposite of grief,
Elation?
Joy?
the 5 stages of acceptance, where I'd gone, despair, joy, bargaining. Please, Lewis, you've had 10 podiums in the last 10 years. Eventually, to acceptance of Nico Hülkenberg will get a podium. I shall now sit. And the second I sat, there's Crofty going, stand up. All right, up I go. Incredible.
Yeah, I mean,
absolutely fantastic.
Not only to lose out on a podium place to Hülkenberg, but Lewis has his worst British Grand Prix since 2013.
Yeah, when he had a puncture. Yeah.
Yeah, a puncture didn't stop him winning it 5 years ago.
No, I know. But I think this was a puncture. This was like a part way through like the first stint or something. I think he had a puncture, and he was the first one to get a puncture, and then loads of others did as well.
Oh God, yes,
Yeah,
I remember.
yes,
I remember
indeed.
that when everyone's tyres were just randomly giving up, and oh look, everybody's giving Pirelli crap.
I was gonna say, I think Pirelli changed the format not long after that, didn't they?
Unfortunately, the ones that brought in for Belgium that year were equally as shit.
So Nico Hülkenberg.
Rubber.
Yeah.
Is that what you? We've been doing paper mash.
Yeah, Hülkenberg's podium. So that's the first one in 239 races. He probably should have got podium. The last time I can think before this that he should have got a podium, and I think it was mentioned on Sky as well, was Germany 2019. That ridiculously wet race when Mercedes decided to paint their cars white and silver and decided finishing. No, it's not for us.
Oh, that was just a race of attritional comedy.
Yeah, so Hülkenberg was running second behind Verstappen in that race for a while. So I think, but what surprised me was the stat at the end that said that this is Sauber's first podium since Japan 2012, and that was the eerie Kamui Kobayashi podium.
Yeah,
where the very polite Japanese fans just chanted his name, Kamui, and then applauded very gently, and I was like, this is creepy, but I kind of like it.
Yeah, if that was Brazil, there'd be a riot, but a good
there'd be
riot.
flares, there'd
Yeah.
be dancing. Yeah.
So, who does that leave on top of the list of drivers with the most starts without a podium?
Does it become
That
Nick
is
Heidfeld? No, it's not Nick Heidfeld.
No,
He's
Nick
got
Heidfeld.
podium.
Nick Heidfeld
He's
is the most
podiumed.
podiums without a win.
This
Is
is
it-
stat number 1 in my Nico stats notes
Oh.
note that I wrote. I know who it is, but I'll let others guess.
I think it might be Martin Brundle.
Oh,
Oh no, he
that's
got
fair.
podiums, didn't he? He did get podiums.
He did get podiums.
Yeah, he got podiums, but no wins. Ooh, so who does that leave the driver as the most race starts without a podium finish?
The number is 127, I think.
28.
Wow,
Oh, my
128.
apologies.
Are they current driver?
No.
No.
historic.
So 128 race starts, no podiums. Is it Andrea De Cesaris?
No.
No.
It's from the last 20 years.
From the last 20 years.
Hold up there.
I've got the Autosport page in
see.
front of me, don't worry, Kieran.
I was born.
Oh, Christ, hello.
hang on, here we go.
We're peaking early here.
I was born.
Oh, hang on.
Is that Glock going slowly?
It's not Glock. Glock got a podium.
I know, but I needed to throw that one in.
I was born in 1983.
So it's younger than Alonso.
Okay.
During my F1 career of 2 stints, I drove for 3 teams. This is good. This is good.
Stints for 3 teams. Good lord.
It's only me and Sean playing. This is-
Shall
so
I go
hang
for
on.
Are you going to
Shall I
take
go
it in
for a fact?
turns, asking clues or something here? What are you doing?
Yeah.
So from 83, so born in 83, had 2 stints in Formula One and drove for 3 teams. Okay.
Kieran, do you want to throw a clue out? Then I'll do a 4th clue and we'll go
Yep.
for a guess.
The 2006 Japanese F3 champion.
Okay. So not in
Always
Formula
hard to
One
tell
in
if that's an
2006.
awful clue or your internet's died.
No, so I mean it's just getting the brain ticking. So for 2006 F3, so probably wouldn't have been in F1 until
a year or two later.
Right, yeah, eight at the earliest, probably 2009.
Right. I'm going to throw a fourth clue at you, and we need a guess after this one.
Okay.
But at the end of this season, 2025, none of the teams I drove for will exist anymore.
So it must be someone who was in a Sauber, because that will not exist at the end of or will not exist in that name.
And we need a guess.
Very optimistic of you.
And is that Glock on the fly? This is great.
So Sauber drivers, we're looking at somebody who did 120 races. It's got to be Marcus Ericsson.
He's not that
No,
old.
He's not that old, is he? He's not that old. He's not that old. Who's driven for Sauber who's that bloody old?
Is it Esteban Gutierrez? No, he's not that
Hans
old.
Harold Frentzen is even older.
Wow.
No, I think Gutierrez isn't. I don't think he's that old.
No, I
yet.
think he's sort of mid-30s.
But he did drive for Sauber.
Yes.
And that would be roughly around about the same time. He drove for Sauber, Haas, and I think that was it.
He was reserve driver for Mercedes for some reason.
Yeah.
He's still a development driver for them. Yeah, he's still in the stable as far as I know.
That horse is long bolted.
That horse ain't coming back.
I think the cats ate it tonight.
Vitaly Petrov is Renault. Did he drive for Sauber?
No, he got a podium when he was with
Okay.
Lotus. I think he got a podium.
Okay.
Like a fluky, there'd been some voodoo during the race situation.
Are you going to bank this guess, and we're going to have to come up with more clues between
Yeah,
us?
yeah,
Yeah, I think
okay.
so.
Yeah. Right, Kieran, your turn.
My turn. Paul, I think you and I both have a fantastic spaffer, but I'm going to skip that. He in July 2020 crashed a McLaren Senna into an electric pylon in Monaco.
In July 2020, he crashed a McLaren Senna. Okay.
Yeah. Somehow, the sentence before. But,
No, you're really breaking up now.
yeah. Oh, nothing relevant.
Something about a sentence, I think we got.
A sentence I'd never read before, but here we are.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to need another. It's your turn for a clue then, Paul. I'm trying. I can't remember.
It's someone shit enough not to have got a podium, but also somehow has lingered for this long.
I was thinking Pedro
Well, this
de
is
la
the
Rosa.
incredible
But Pedro
thing.
de la Rosa had.
He's
he
had a
must have had
podium,
podiums.
and I would
He
have
had
said
podiums in
older. I would have
He
put him.
finished second in a race for McLaren. I'm sure he did.
Yeah.
Jensen's first win, he was second in McLaren.
Right, let us find a suitable clue.
I feel like we're naming every average driver from this era, but whoever we're after.
Yeah, basically.
Excellent.
Yeah.
With one of my team changes, I didn't have to move headquarters.
Oh, so it's a renaming situation, one would expect.
That's nice. I like it.
With one of my team changes, I didn't have to move headquarters.
Yep.
So your team.
Yeah, it's someone who will have taken over from someone or rebranded and therefore is using the same facility.
I'm thinking, yeah. So I think it's probably too early to be Spiker Midland, Force India, whatever it was called in between.
Would Vitantonio Liuzzi be about the right age?
There's some serious thinking going on here.
Yeah, Liuzzi would be roughly the right age, but he drove for Force India Toro Rosso. Did he go Red Bull as well?
He was in that stable, wasn't he? I don't know if he did have a Red Bull. I don't know if they ever let him in the proper car.
You know what? We really need Ron Howard to narrate the quiz. Does anyone find out what it costs?
No good. I don't know if our Patreon extends to Ron Howard money. Maybe we need to create a Ron Howard tier. You want a version of this podcast narrated weekly by Ron Howard?
I've kind of got a second-hand connection to F1 because it was in he narrated Arrested Development with Will Arnett, who I don't believe hosts an F1 podcast anymore.
Did about 4 episodes of it. Got bored. More smartness.
You need to do a clue.
My best finish is 4th at the 2009 Italian Grand Prix. So close to that podium.
4th at the 2009 Italian Grand Prix. So that was not the year the Vettel won, because that was 2008.
The one after.
Yeah.
Race, I can tell you I remember fuck all about. Aside from that it was the year after the Vettel one.
Wait a second. Hang on. The 2009 Italian Grand Prix, I think, was won by Rubens Barrichello in the Brawn.
Brawn.
Because that was the year of the Brawn.
Okay.
Well, I can't tell you who finished 4th.
Ooh, would it be Sebastian Bourdais? Would that have been his kind of era?
Again, I don't think he was over. He didn't do 2 stints in Formula 1.
No, that's true. 1 stint was enough, wasn't it?
And I think he was always in the RedBull Junior team.
Fair. I'm running out of who the fuck else was around.
Another clue?
Yes, one more clue, and then if I don't get it after this one, I might have to throw in the towel.
Shall we spaffer after this?
Yeah, one more clue, and then Kieran, if you want to do the spaffer. But my clue is, later in the 2009 season, I qualified 3rd in a race, and I was running there until Jarno Trulli took me out. Sadly, that was on the first lap.
Oh, dang.
Oh, no.
I think we might need the spaffer.
Yeah, go for the spaffer, because
The spaffer?
a lot of dead air is not helping
Okay.
anyone.
Yeah, this is why we need
Here
Ron
is the
Howard.
spaffer. This is the spaffer. The spaffer is this. There is a section on my Wikipedia page titled Shanghai Nightclub Incident and Assault Conviction.
Okay, yeah, I know who it is.
8 clues about my race career. And they get it on the fucking glass clue.
Is this Sutton?
Yes.
I thought he had a podium.
Nope.
I'm convinced he had a podium.
Nope. 4th in Italy was his best result.
Nothing.
Was that the race before Fisichella got the pole? For Force India.
Must have been, yeah.
The race after Fisichella got the pole.
And then
after,
Fisichella
'Cause then Fisichella
replaced.
got
He went to
snapped
Ferrari, didn't he?
Yes, the race.
In my head,
Yeah.
Sotil got a podium in that race. Maybe I only watched qualifying in that race.
Yeah, because he qualified second.
In my head, he finished
He
second in that
qualified
race.
second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Force India just went through this like amazing run to the point where one of them
Yeah.
got stolen by a Ferrari. I would have sworn he got a podium.
Yeah, see, Fisichella was in my mind as well at one point, and I was thinking, is it going Fisichella? And he was like, no, he's got to be a little bit older than that, Fisichella.
And he did get a podium.
He did get podiums. Yeah, he won a couple of
I
races.
was going to say, he won.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Fisichella was.
Yeah,
in
Adrian
podium.
Sutil was.
The Shanghai nightclub incident was the one that gave me Adrian Sutil.
See, I just never mentioned his name because I was adamant he had a podium.
He
I
was.
forgot about him. I was going to be honest.
No, I thought about him on about Clue 2 and then went, nah, podium.
He was 0.4 of a second off podium at the 2009 Italian Grand Prix.
Oh no! Who
Raikkonen
did he
held
lose
him
out
off.
to? It was Raikkonen. Was I right? Did Barrichello
Raikkonen.
win that race?
Yeah, Brawn 1-2, Barrichello winning
Yeah. I remember that bit. Don't remember anything
their
else.
last race. Win.
I apparently only remember qualifying.
Just out of interest, moving into the top 5 on races without a podium is now Pedro Diniz.
Oh, wow.
Oh my god!
Wow.
Yeah,
How many is that?
He's on 98.
Oh, okay.
Because I know who's on 99.
I was going to say, although up until Saturday, he was tied with Yuki, who is now on 99.
Yuki's on 99 races.
Yes.
He's 5.
Yeah.
What he is?
The remainder of the top three are Philippe Alliot with 109 and Pierluigi Martini with 119.
Wow.
Oh,
So
wow, okay.
Yuki, if you can keep your seat, you've got something to aim for.
Yes, but you shouldn't. There's one other awful fact I want to add in about the 2009 Italian Grand Prix, where Sutil just missed out on a podium. Can you tell me what else happened that weekend?
September 2009.
No. I'm just going to go with no.
I'm going to throw a no out there as well.
Earlier that morning, the morning Sutil didn't get a podium.
Is this a
Nico
motor...
Hülkenberg won the GP2 title.
I was going to ask, is this a motorsport related something else or just anything ever in the world on that weekend?
Early on that Sunday morning, a very young Kieran Thompson woke up not feeling very well and threw up all over his bed.
Yes. I can tell you what, if it was a GP2 round in the late 2000s, I said I was going to church, then lied and went and watched the GP2.
Nice.
That's what happened on Sunday morning in September 2009.
So back to the subject of can Yuki climb the top 5 in number of podiumless starts? It would all depend on who his new team principal's going to be.
Yes.
Well, we know who it is.
That's true.
I know, but it sounded better that way.
Well, do we?
Until the end of the
Because he's
season,
CEO.
probably.
They've actually formally replaced him on the board of directors and everything, haven't they?
Yeah.
Mekis has gone in.
Yeah. So Lauren Mekis is an interesting journey for me, and perhaps even though the big story is what's happened with Christian Horner and him not being at RedBull anymore, Lauren Mekis, he was he's been in various teams. I think he was actually at VCarb when they were Toro Rosso, but he was at Ferrari and he was climbing the ladder at Ferrari when they kept promoting from inside, and he was next in line to be promoted to the team principal boss. So much so that they started profiling him on Sky Sports and stuff. It's like, oh, this is Lauren Mekis. He's the trackside engineer for Ferrari. You'll see a lot of him around this season. And then they decided to get a new team principal, and he was like, right, here we go, lads. And they went, it's Fred Vasseur. And he was like, fuck you, I'm out. Left Ferrari when they hired Fred, and joined VCarb as team principal, and is now the chief at RedBull. So that's a really interesting turnaround for Laurent Mekis. He's now running one of the biggest teams in Formula One.
And
So, Sean,
the picture with all the hair.
You've just shared exactly what I was about to share.
Yes.
I cropped it down to the 2006 photo in particular. So F1 put out this graphic, didn't they, of all a different photo of Lauren Mekis looking important across all of his teams, and it's arrows, Minardi.
The top row is definitely nerdy villain in a movie.
And the bottom row is keyboard player in a prog rock band.
Have you seen all of the diehards? Because the top row could be any of them.
It's people who have hacked a computer and then gone, I'm in.
Yes.
That's the top row. In particular.
And the bottom one has composed
Toro Rosso.
Yeah, and the bottom row has composed a 30-minute suite about the sex lives of cucumbers.
Yes. I think bottom middle is the drummer for the National. But yeah, top right, Toro Rosso. I'll have to put this somehow in a show note somewhere. I'll put it on the Patreon.
Mission Impossible.
I don't know what to say.
It is
Mission Impossible.
Yes, not Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible is exactly who that is.
It's a strange choice to go for goatee, soul patch, and blue sunglasses whilst working.
Let's assume
So
the blue
when
sunglasses
Mission
were probably
Impossible-
provided.
Yeah, when Mission Impossible comes to the stage at a theatre near you, this is the man who plays Ethan.
Now, if it's a musical version and it's written by Tim Minchin, I am first in the fucking queue for that.
Okay.
Mission Impossible theme tune, by
and
the way, is in 5/4, which is really confusing for a lot of musicians.
Oh my!
And
I went to see Tim Minchin on Friday.
was he
It was
good?
entertaining. Yeah, it was all right. Yeah.
So, yes,
Sorry,
the
tangent.
whole Horner situation. Where do we start? Probably with...
There's a lot of. Can I start with this thing, which is from in our chat group, Sean? You posted the message he's put out, and I've
Yes.
just opened Instagram, and the first comment, or how Instagram will show you a comment from someone you follow.
It's algorithmed it
Commenting
to you,
upon
hasn't
that.
it? Let's
Yeah.
have a look. What have I got?
It has the following comment says, "Congratulations, you've been amazing. Get some rest, you deserve it. Onwards, kiss, heart." You go, oh well, which F1 driver or personality or broadcaster is that? Rylan.
Rylan?
Outstanding. Will Rylan have
Right.
crossed paths with Jerry at some point?
Very probably...
Probably.
Yeah.
For non-UK listeners, Rylan is... How do you describe him? As renter personality. He's
He was an X Factor contestant, wasn't he? He was a singer, didn't win,
Yeah.
and has gone on to be a sort of light entertainment presenter and personality.
yeah. I think
Presented Vectis Radio
I was going to say male version
with
of
our
Davina
gold
McCall.
award at the Arius.
Oh, how
Ooh.
exciting.
Yeah, that's it, essentially, yeah. Yeah, when we won gold at Arius, Rylan gave it to us.
Oh,
Nice.
I wasn't there. Should probably add that.
Congratulations.
so Rylan is not even featuring for me when I look at the comments, so
Yeah,
Oh,
I look at
dear.
comments and
This
I
is-
don't know anyone.
yeah,
So-
it's all randoms for me. The algorithm works differently for you.
Oh, these bloody
The only
one
person
kind of
to
media
put
type
the
against
head above
another
the
kind of media type. So yes, as of Horner actually got told on the Tuesday that he was still employed by Red Bull, but no longer actively participating in the team. Which
Is that effectively gardening leave?
I was going to
I
say
think
that's
so.
describe gardening leave without using the words leave or gardening.
Well, that's interesting because also the head of operations, the operations director, I think it is, has been placed on gardening leave, as has the head of marketing.
Who is also the head of all communications.
Right.
Mm.
Okay.
So
Does that
yeah.
tell us this is more of a brand issue? Is
Which-
this...
Which one of those two released the WhatsApps?
Yeah.
I mean, there's always that,
Didn't
isn't
think
there?
about that way. So yeah, it might point to a collective firing in terms of performance and lack of brand stabilization, because you consider the fact that they're probably not the most marketable team in F1 when they were winning big time. It's probably still Ferrari or Mercedes, but now they've got a car which is very obvious that only one person can drive it. They're not winning much, if anything. Max is pulling out the odd magic win like at Suzuka. They're not winning much at all. And it hasn't been fixed by Horner. Instead, he's made lots of poor decisions. He's focused on... He re-signed Perez randomly and gave him 18 million euros, brackets allegedly, to then not hang around.
Because he was the problem, remember? According to
course.
Horner,
Yeah.
he was the
Well-
problem. And then we've had two more who haven't solved the problem since then.
Yeah.
So the problem
And
isn't the driver.
we have said all along that Sergio Perez is a world champion class driver and they should sack Max. I think we said several times last season.
No, I mean, no.
No, I know.
We absolutely did not say that.
Being facetious, I will agree. But, he'd lost Newey, he'd lost Rob Marshall. Apparently, Jonathan Wheatley, according to Andrew Benson on BBC, he said today that when the original scandal came out at the start of 2014, Jonathan Wheatley went in quietly into Red Bull's board and said, I can be team principal if you want to get rid of him. And they rejected him. And Jonathan Wheatley went, well, I've embarrassed myself. I'm off to Sauber.
Somebody's come up with a theory. One of our regulars, Mark Audley. He started this with tinfoil hat time. Which
Excellent.
Always a good start. But I kind of think there might be something to this. Horner should have been binned after the scandal, which was 2024, not 2014, Kieran.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Horner should have been binned after the scandal. They couldn't, as he knew where all the questionable bits regarding legality were on the car. They've slowly all been taken off, and that explains the backward step in pace, but they're now free to sack him.
Interesting. I would have gone...
Far-fetched, but plausible.
Yeah. I think it's simpler than that. I think it comes down to Verstappen. And the fact that Toto's been making noises about the fact that there might be an opening at Mercedes. We know Verstappen obviously isn't happy with various things. Taking out Horner and a couple of other senior people, it then gives that opportunity to say this is going to be a refreshed team, it's all going to change, it's all going to be better. It's to try and keep Verstappen there.
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, there was a story in Auto Motor and Sport last week about Verstappen's team wanting to only commit if Horner had got less power.
Just briefly, I think Kieran might need letting back in.
Ooh. Yes, we'll add him back in. But yeah,
good job I didn't hear you mistake me for Christian Horner. Don't worry.
No, genuinely, I have a colleague called Christian who has messaged me to tell me he is ill. So the other message on top on my phone was from someone called Christian.
Is his surname Horner?
No.
No, he's still got a job. But yeah, the story went that they wanted Horner to have less overall power, which was something that they probably couldn't actually do because of him being CEO as well as team principal. And he could, in theory, override the rest of the board. So, you're not allowed to negotiate contracts. Actually, no, I'm putting a veto on that. I'm actually in charge.
Yeah. There's a lot that appears to have been, just decided by Christian Horner. And imagine if you're a high-level board member, though. I want everybody to put yourselves in these shoes. You're a high-level board member, like Kieran alluded to before. You're pretty pissed off about the Sergio Perez thing. He's the problem, but we're going to give him a massive contract. And then some races later go, actually, we're going to pay him out of this contract and get someone else in. Oh, they're not the right person either. Let's put somebody else in the car. Still working. We're going to with this person now. Well, hang on a second. I'm millions and millions out of pocket because of what you said and did, because we gave you the power to, and you keep getting it wrong. You keep fucking up. If Max were to leave Red Bull, who would they put in the car? Do you reckon they put Hadjar in the car at the moment? Like, let's just say he's gone now.
I think they'd give Lindblad a go.
I don't know. I'm not so sure. But Red Bull have got 172 points in the constructors at the moment. All of them pretty much have been scored by Max, with the exception of 10 scored by Yuki Tsunoda. So if you imagine putting, Yuki Tsunoda and Hadjar or Lawson or anybody else, Lindblad maybe, might score a few more points than 10. But when you look at the constructors table and Haas are on 29 points, that's really the maximum you're looking at Red Bull scoring if you've got two drivers who can't drive that car. So that's the level of problem that has been created by building that car around one driver who is, let's be honest, a single point of failure. If he leaves, the team completely collapses. There is a rumor that Max has put his notice in to quit already, and that's not going to be announced for a race or two yet. Where he goes or doesn't go or whatever it is that he does.
A race or two would probably have them announcing it at Zandvoort.
Which would be... Team Verstappen might announce that he's off to a new team at Zandvoort. And this is his last race at... Is this the last race at Zandvoort, or they got next year as well?
I think next year's the last one.
Right, so they might get one...
I may be wrong.
They might get one more race with Max in a different team if he is leaving. But that would also, in my mind, that would also propel mass changes.
I think it is the last one this year.
Is it? That would also propel mass changes at the top as well. Like if Max has gone...
Hang on, before we get the complaints, it is next year.
Okay. So if Max has gone, and that's, you know, that's the cards are all, the dominoes are falling, the house of cards is collapsing. Get rid of those at the top. It's Christian that's caused this problem. He probably needs to go. And like Sean said then, you need that fresh start. You need somebody else in with some fresh ideas and, you know, rebuild this car that other drivers can drive, because we've now lost the one driver who could drive it. If that's the case, it might not be the case. It could be that Max, you know, we wake up tomorrow and Max Verstappen has signed a 20-year extension or whatever to his contract and is there till 2048. So, I mean, we won't know for a few races, but if things are changing, we'll know within the next few weeks rather than at the end of the season.
I mean, Horner has had a lot of success with Red Bull. You know, you certainly can't deny that. Two long stints as the top team on the grid. Do you think he thought he was absolutely untouchable, especially with everything that came out last year?
I think so. I think having survived that initial flurry of excitement after Message Gate, yeah, he probably did think, now we're fine now.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think he thought it had emboldened him somewhat as well. I mean, his stats are impressive. I mean, his win percentage as a team principal is envy. You know, most drivers would be envious of that. He won 30% of his races as a team principal, given that he built that team from, you know, it was Gunter that built the team up. Most people forget that. Gunter Steiner built the team for Red Bull and then handed it over when it was Red Bull to Christian Horner. And it was that fledgling team which were finishing sort of just outside the points. I mean, we was going, oh, these guys are fun, aren't they? From that point all the way and right the way through to where we've got, you know, Max winning, was it something stupid like 20 out of 23 races that he won a couple of years ago? 30% of all of those races, and it's over 400 that he's been team principal for. 30% of those Red Bull won. So that is a huge legacy in terms of sporting legacy to leave. So, yes, there are scandals. Yes, there are questionable behaviors. And personality-wise, I'm not just going to say I always found it very cold. But that was he was almost like the villain in Drive to Survive, and he played up to that a bit. But, I mean, when it comes to the sport and the numbers what matter. They don't lie. And Christian Horner's numbers have been impressive, but after 20 years.
It was 2005 when he took over.
Years.
Yeah.
He was 31 when he first became team principal, and in nearly half of his life, Red Bull became a race-winning team within 4 years. And you couldn't imagine Jaguar getting close to a race win, much as I think Webber was quite a good qualifier for Jaguar in the Jaguar years. They weren't a competitive team. Not only did he turn them around, they did very well in the double diffuser era. They have even though it is flawed to the root, a somewhat successful young driver program, which, despite the fact it has rejected a number of people, it has given us race winners in the likes of Gasly and podium finishes in the likes of Albon and 99 not podium finishes for Yuki Tsunoda.
I mean,
it has given us some very talented drivers.
Yeah, the drivers on the grid right now. So Jack Doohan came through the Red Bull Academy, so he's not actually in the car like right now, but he could come back. So you got Jack Doohan.
Thursday news.
Yeah, as you just said then, Yuki Tsunoda, Liam Lawson, Carlos Sainz, Pierre Gasly, Isaac Hadjar, Alex Albon, Max Verstappen, Daniel Ricciardo, all these drivers that have come through. But I mean, what did I count as 7 drivers who are currently on the grid,
Yeah.
or 8 if you don't include Jack Doohan, that have been part of that Red Bull family.
And countless Formula E drivers as well, because you can't forget recent race winner Dick Tantrum.
I mean, how many races did that take him?
239.
There's a wealth of talent there. There's an absolute wealth of talent which has come through essentially and will hang around. Okay, we don't know what's going to happen next with Lawson and Lindblad and whoever replaces Lindblad in the F2 Red Bull driver, Tim Tramnitz or something like that. But there are drivers which are going to continue coming through that program. And that is down to Christian Horner and Helmut Marko getting their heads together and going, actually, you know what? We've got 2 teams. Let's create the next generation. And sure, the way they go around treating them is rubbish.
Yeah, it is. But
they've got results.
A lot of teams didn't have that youth system, did they, in place before Red Bull did their youth system?
Yeah, and now they all do.
Exactly. Yeah. Now they all have young driver programs.
Apart from Sauber, who have to borrow Paul Aron.
Although, isn't Emo Fittipaldi still on the Sauber program?
I don't know if he's still on it. They signed him when he was 12 and he had about 1 million sponsors logos on it. And yeah, it's just been announced he's doing F2 next year, which is wildly early to be announcing that.
For AIX.
Yes. But yeah, I don't know if he is still actually owned by Sauber or if he's doing his own thing now.
Yeah, okay.
That means the key and shield is out then for next year.
Yeah, everyone's calling him Emo Fittipaldi, and I keep reading it as Emo. Most miserable driver on the grid.
I hope he's got better hair than Kean Shields.
I don't think I've ever seen him with that.
That's a haircut and a half.
With
don't just keep imagine him as a hatted man.
His Wikipedia says he is a former member of the Sauber Academy.
Oh right, so they have got rid of him. One thing, of course, with Horner going is something that we're not going to see, which one of our listeners, Zolkon, I don't know his real name, but that's his Twitter handle, or I can't remember his real name, sent today that I think should have been done, making the F1 movie more authentic. Right. Post Abu Dhabi race, Horner files a complaint with the FIA about Sonny's eligibility based on not having a valid super license, and the victory is subsequently stripped from him, and the team is sold. The end.
I mean, there's I did say about the plot hole with the super license, but let's not dig into the rules when we're looking at a film and the story. And
no, I did it for 2 hours straight.
Obviously, if you want to know more about our thoughts on the F1 movie, just subscribe to Patreon at patreon.com/3legs4wheels and sign up from £1, $1 or €1 a month, and you will get a show that's 75% of our thoughts on the film and 25% on how not to work in radio.
My mic cut out there for a second, so I just heard radio, and I thought, oh god, is this a thing I don't work in?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
So the new era under Red Bull begins basically in Belgium.
Yes, just before the summer break.
Yeah, it's an odd time to fire someone.
Or is it the perfect time to do it?
Yeah.
Because you got this one race, everybody got...
Sorry, go on.
Kieran, sorry, no, you go first, because mine is more organisational, which is kind of boring, so I bet yours is much more interesting than mine.
It wasn't. Are we going to see... Is this the last thing we're going to see happen with Red Bull before Belgium? Because this is the time of the year where they sacked Gasly just before the summer break. Are they going to get involved and look again at their driver program and go, a lot of comments about Horner we could do with burying some bad news right now, and I don't know, demoting Liam Lawson to A1 GP or something, I don't know. Nico Hülkenberg, the first podium sitter on F1 podium, who is also an A1 GP champion.
Yes.
Wow.
I suppose
Oh,
so.
I told you it wasn't more interesting. I told you. You didn't listen.
You see, mine was more about the operational side of like Red Bull. Like, do you give them a race to sort of like, Lauren Mekis comes in and he's a lot more relaxed, I would say, than Christian Horner, and a lot more sort of just. I don't know. His leadership style with VCARB, obviously it worked for VCARBs, and that's why they've given him the job at Red Bull. But does that work with the people he's got in that team now? Let's just give it this first race before we have the break to regroup and reconsider, and then they can reflect. They've got a race to reflect on. Say, well, this went well, that didn't go so well. There's that space and time in the summer break then to them to. Instead of being like anticipating, I don't know what's going to happen after the summer break, like they've got something to work on.
Is one race long enough though to work out what needs doing? I know there's a break after.
No, not at all. But
surely give him till the end of the year to get everything in place and all the pieces there at least, and then you've got. The off season to regroup, and then you can hit the ground running next year. But is it going to be in true Helmut Marko form? Right, I want results now, and it's got to be done. And if you have a bad time in Belgium, I'm going to spend the entire summer break complaining at you.
Can they actually afford to do that though? Because who's the next in line?
Does Helmut Marko give a flying fuck?
Well, probably not, but.
And the other big question, of course, I mean, that's what's going to happen to Red Bull. So they're on a fact-finding mission for the rest of this year before they go in headlong into 26 with whatever car it is they build for next year. Ford partnership coming along as well. So with Red Bull, but does Christian Horner stay away from Formula One? Does he pop back up with another team?
Well, he does until his gardening leave's finished. I mean,
he's got the whole year, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think we could be seeing something sort of rotational here because taking over from Lauren Mekis at VCARB is Alan Permain, who we all thought would never leave Enstone.
Yeah, until he did.
Yeah. And one of the first messages that I saw on, I think it was actually F1's social post, was from Flavio.
Saying good luck.
Yeah.
And of course, they still need a responsible adult.
Yeah, they rehired Steve Nielsen, who was their sporting director, but he's been rehired as a CEO.
Yeah, it's not the right title, is it? It's something slightly different.
No, so he's not going to be team principal. He's going to be basically doing what Luca Di Maio was doing however many weeks ago.
But I think he's the one that still represents Alpine on the F1 competition committee because Flavio can't because he's not employed by Alpine. He is only there as a consultant. I am using air quotes. Mm-hmm. So by bringing his mate Horner in when available, buy shares in popcorn and baby oil.
I can see it happening. I can see Christian Horner reappearing with Alpine. I know there was talk recently about him turning up at Ferrari.
Oh, can I just get a bad pun in? It wasn't a peen, it was a finger.
Oh, come on.
Oh, okay.
But the
I think Kieran needs to be let back in again.
Oh dear.
I was wondering why I didn't get a response from him to that one. Told you your internet was rubbish.
I just said, I said in the chat group, I'm in the studio, but after that gag, legally, I might be safer backstage.
I need to go back and edit the word allegedly in there now, don't I?
I mean, if you look at the newer teams that are coming in for 26, Cadillac have got Graham Loudon. There's absolutely no way you've been off Graham Loudon for Christian Horner. Mm-hmm. Jonathan Wheatley and Mattia Bonotto doing separate team principal roles at Sauber going to be Audi. I don't think they need to worry about having anybody in there at all. I know they talked about Christian Horner taking over from Fred at Ferrari, but I honestly don't think they would get rid of Fred at Ferrari. It's a slow process. And the reason they brought Fred in is because he is that steady hand that steadies ships. He's not like, right, bring everything in, wholesale changes, let's go. You know, the way he dealt with Sauber when he was there was brilliant. To be fair, so I don't see Ferrari getting rid of Fred Vasseur at all. So Alpine really is the only place I could see him popping up.
I think that's the only place he's going to go. Zach Brown would never hire him.
No.
Mercedes, it would be the ultimate troll, but I don't think it could ever come to anything.
Aston Martin.
Well, already got Adrian Newey, and apparently those two don't exactly see eye to eye.
I was going to say, if Adrian Newey left to get away from him, yeah.
Yeah, and hasn't Adrian Newey been given a stake in the team and
yeah, he probably has some say on who comes in.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has a greenhouse and a house plant and a bedroom now, doesn't he?
Yeah,
he's pretty much bedded in there.
So yeah, I think Alpine is probably the only place where he could end up. Will we see?
Or he ends up at
unless F1.
What if he had...
Unless F1 give him a role along the lines of what Ross Brawn used to do as director of finding and closing loopholes.
I think in 2026 we will see Christian Horner working for F1.
And not as running
and it will be the
president of the FIA.
No, I think he's 4 years short of that. I mean, Bernie wanted him, didn't he? Bernie wanted Christian Horner to succeed him. And he went, no, well, I'm all right. I've got this wonderful deal down at Red Bull where we win championships and my assistant's lovely to me. So, allegedly. So I'm set. I mean, he didn't even give it a second thought, it seems, even though he doesn't stop banging on about the fact that Bernie asked him. So, yeah, I think he pops up at F1 at Liberty.
I think that's feasible. Also talking of FIA, MBS's latest diktat. He is confident F1 will return to V8 engines. God, I really hope the other guy wins.
The other guy, just by dint of being the other guy, seems quite a sensible human being.
Tim Mayer, who was fired by Ben Sulayem, after the American Grand Prix last year. But we need to remind ourselves that the Formula One team principals had a chat about V8 engines early this season, and they were like, "Yeah, that would be fun." No, it's not happening.
Oh yeah, the other MBS one is he's now looking at getting a Chinese team involved.
Yeah, can the other guy win?
The other guy, I don't think stands a chance on the basis that
he's the other guy.
Darth Vader has too much support from the regional clubs and such, doesn't he? Mm-hmm. So, and only this week it got snuck out. I don't know if this was mentioned whilst I was out, but it got snuck out that the British ambassador to the FIA was sacked. British member of a board or something.
During the Grand Prix.
Dang, that's cold.
Yeah. And has been replaced by the Azerbaijani delegate, who is a lot more loyal to Ben Sulayem.
I see.
Which isn't suspicious at all.
Not at all.
Not in the bloody slightest.
No. I've got one last Horner fact if you want it.
Wow.
Fire away.
Is it
today
legal?
Today is the first day. Yeah, it is legal, don't worry, yeah. Yeah, it's not. I've got one last Horner fact. This blurry photo of his finger? No. Today, allegedly, just want to say. It's great. These are things I can't say on the radio. No. Today, this is now very dull. Today is the first day in Kimi Antonelli's lifetime that Christian Horner hasn't been Red Bull boss.
Wow.
This is true, yeah, because Kimi Antonelli only being 18.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Would it be the same
Yeah.
for Oliver Behrman?
I believe so.
Quite possibly.
Yeah.
He's not 20 yet, is
No.
he? Behrman?
Behrman, it would be correct. Behrman as
Wow.
well. Yes, both of them. Mm.
And
And that's why you come to this podcast.
unless you're a lawyer, then you've probably been here a while and you've been making notes. I think it's probably time to leave it there before we get sued anymore. So, if you want to get in touch and you want to send us an "Is that Glock" that we don't have to make up on the spot, although the improvisation tonight is, I wouldn't recommend doing that one again. But
I'd probably guess until again if you did it.
Yes, if we, so with the same set of clues again, I think we'd get it sooner.
Yeah.
if you want to get in touch,
Don't submit these.
you can email us 3legs4wheels@gmail.com. Go to 3legs4wheels.com. There's a link to the Prediction League on there, and you can link to our Discord. I've already mentioned Patreon, but I'll mention that again. Patreon.com/3legs4wheels. On the socials, we are at 3legs4wheels on most of them, except for Blue Sky, where we are at 3legs4wheels.com. And individually, our socials are
At Sean Cowper.
At Flood21.
That Kieran is boring.
I thought you got cut off again. And at Pablo100. Right, we will be back next week with the wind in the right direction, seeing whatever the fallout is, and if no major news happens between now and then...
Oh, there'll be something.
Yeah, should we just do a long Patreon show and talk crap for an hour?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see.
Why not?
We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.